Today is Monday, December 23rd, and this is the ADM Investor Services Weekly Market Kickoff. Please note that the views and opinions expressed here today are solely those of our guests and should not be construed as the views or opinions of ADM Investor Services or Archer Daniels Midland Company. Today's guests are Steve Freed, Vice President of Grain Research at ADMIS, and Alan Bush, ADM Investor Services Senior Financial Economist. Alan, let's start with the financials this morning. The U.S. yield curve has steepened recently after being inverted earlier this year. What is the significance of this dramatic shift in the yield curve?
Well, earlier this year, with the yield curve inverted, there was plenty of talk about recession. And quite often there are recessions that are preceded with an inverted yield curve. But there are other things that come into play which did not suggest recession. Of course, now the yield curve is back to normal and in fact steepening. That is a very clear sign that the U.S. economy will hold up very well. In fact, I think the U.S. economy will outperform other economies in the world.
Durable goods orders fell 2% in November when economists predicted a 1.2% increase. Why are stock index futures higher in spite of this bearish news?
Okay, well, durable goods did come in weak. Most recent economic reports have come in better as of late. I believe that it is the still low interest rate environment that will support stock index futures. Other factors, the U.S.-China trade situation apparently improving. So the fact that stock index futures are higher on that negative news suggests that better things lie ahead and higher prices lie ahead.
You mentioned stock index futures, Alan. They appear to be ending the year on a firm tone. Do you believe higher prices will follow through into next year?
For the first part of next year into January, I would think there will be follow-through gains. Now we're going to have to see what the January indicators suggest. Usually the first business day of trading, as far as how the stock index futures trade that day, is an indication for the rest of the year. The first week and the first month are very good signals as far as what we'll see next year as far as prices. But with what I'm seeing now, higher prices at least through the first part of next year, at least into January, well into January.
Steve, let's get right to it. Is there a U.S. trade deal with China or not?
I believe there is. I think there's enough word coming out of both China and the United States that in January they will set a date to sign the deal. 30 days later, the Chinese will start buying some of the ag goods that they have promised as part of the deal. And I don't think it's like May when the Chinese came back and basically said there was no deal based on what was being talked about. So I think, yes, there is a deal.
And what would a deal mean to corn, soybean, and wheat prices from here?
It's interesting. Last week we did a survey of economists, and they said that if there was no deal, nearby March beans would have struggling to get over 950. But then they say if there is a deal, and they take this 44 million tons, which is unrealistic, you can have $11 beans. When they talked about maybe taking 8 million tons of corn, 8 million tons of sorghum, 7 million tons of wheat, DDGs, ethanol, meats, record amount of meats. Corn is struggling right now to trade over $3.90. Some people think that if there's a deal, corn could trade as high as $5.
Finally, Steve, Pro Farmer comes out with some words at the end of each year. Who was Pro Farmer's Ag Person of the Year? What was the Ag Event of the Year? And the Ag Story of the Year?
I think Ag Person of the Year was split between U.S. farmers and ranchers and the U.S. Trade Representative, Robert Lighthizer. It's interesting that they also had honorable mention of the person that's in charge of NASS, the Crop Reporting Board. They said that farmers feel in 2019 USDA figuratively and literally was a four-letter word. And so there's not too many people happy about some of the crop reporting things that were done. The story of the year, I think, was the weather. U.S. weather from start to finish was extreme and caused a lot of disruption in production by region. The event of the year is the deal, the phase one trade deal. It's a one-hit wonder. And I think that farmers should understand that when they start buying, that could be the high of the year. And end users right now should have coverage because I think the market's going to rally into the signing of the deal.
Thank you both. Remember, the views and opinions expressed today in this video are solely those of our guests and should not be construed as the views or opinions of ADM Investor Services or Archer Daniels Midland Company. If you'd like more information about our brokerage services, like to speak to one of our experts about managing your risks, or would like to open a trading account, please visit www.admis.com.